The British government is set to introduce legislation on its plan to exit the European Union. It comes a day after the UK's Parliament voted to allow the Prime Minister, Theresa May, to begin the Brexit process. MPs backed the bill by 498 votes to 114. Well, Simon McGregor-Wood joins us now from London. Simon, a thumping victory for the government last night. What are we expecting from this new legislation?
Well, it's called a white paper. It broadly sets out the government's policy on the issue. We expect it to be delivered by the minister, the special minister for exiting the European Union, David Davis. He's going to have a busy couple of years, and it will probably mirror very closely the main points of the speech that Theresa May, the Prime Minister, gave, where we really got for the first time some real understanding of where she thinks, what she thinks the Brexit deal should look like from this country's perspective, tilting a little bit more towards the control of borders versus the continued access to the European single market, etc., the so-called hard Brexit. That is going to be presented. It will not affect the passage of the little piece of legislation that was voted on last night. That continues a rather complex passage through the House of Commons and the House of Lords. But this is a white paper. It is interesting because we'll get further clarification, hopefully, of what this government hopes the Brexit deal will look like in 2 years once the negotiations have finished.
And the British Prime Minister has set herself a fairly tight deadline, wanting to start this process by the end of March. Is that still on track, or have all these political and legal delays held things up?
Well, there was always a chance that her deadline, her timetable, was going to be slightly affected by the Supreme Court decision, which meant that she had to go through Parliament, which is what she's now doing. Her best case scenario has this bill going back to the committee stage in the Commons. Next week could be interesting. All sorts of amendments to this little bill have been tabled by the Labour Party and the Scottish Nationalists and others. That could take some time. Then it has to go to the House of Lords, the second chamber, where peers, as we call them, these unelected officials, will get to pore through the details of the legislation and the amendments. If they pass it and send it back to the Commons, it's possible, best case scenario, that she gets this bill and gets royal approval for it. It becomes law, in other words, in time for her to go to the next big European Union summit in Brussels on the 9th and the 10th of March, John. That's her ideal scenario. She'd be able to go there, look the other 27 European leaders in the eye and say, I have the bill, I'm going to trigger Brexit right here and right now. That's what she hopes to do, but there is plenty of room for some confusion and delay in this, as I say, very complex parliamentary process that we're now going through.
Simon, for now, thank you very much indeed. Simon McGregor-Wood in London.